Hi everyone. I'm going to introduce our bread sign language. I want to introduce to you guys the cultural emphasis of this bread language and what it looks like. In our group, we have bakers that work in kitchens, and they wanted to share their knowledge and communicate about bread, and so they wanted to also make the most delicious bread, and so they made up more and more specific words for the bread, and they know that everyone enjoys bread for breakfast or lunch or dinner. They eat it all the time, and so they wanted to be able to appreciate God's bread in their community. Another thing that I wanted to mention is they have an annual festival, and in that annual festival, they make new breads, and they have different rules, and they've had different secrets of how they make this bread and how to make it even more delicious. They also play games at this festival. They have bread that they throw like frisbees, and they have a lot of fun and enjoy this yearly festival. Okay, now I want to talk to you about the status differences within the community. In general, there's no status difference between the genders, but they do have some specific levels and statuses in the community. For example, how you identify with their clothing. Some are more formal and more fancy. They're clean. They are kept nice, and they also have more recreational clothing, and there's a poorer class. There's no laws about socializing with people outside of your class. Everybody commingles. Just they have different communication styles and personalities.
Also, we have 3 different classes, so the rich class, the medium class, and the lower. And for the rich class, people wears white most of the time, and just nice clothing. Middle class, it's more like clothing, it's more colorful, like pink, green, red. And for the lower class, it's similar to the lower class, but it's more like pants, black pants or black shirts. So yeah.
I want to talk about an important type of bread that is called ajuja. It's a Chilean bread. I will explain about that bread, different parts of the bread, and different people have the bread that fits who they are, and it matches their personality. Ajuja matches my personality. It's thin, like I am. It is sweet, and I am also sweet. And there's a lot of different things that it represents, and it can represent personality and people.
I want to talk about multi-grain bread. Multi-grain bread tends to be a little bit hard on the outside, but it's nice and soft in the middle and easy to chew. People who make multi-grain bread tend to have the qualities of being a little standoffish at first when you first meet them, but then becoming really likable and open once you get to know them. The different seeds that they put in their bread also depends on their hobbies and their interests, and they're very adaptable to most situations.
I'll be talking about sourdough, and this bread is usually for the highest class, for the rich people. This bread is really hard to get, and only rich people can eat of this. It's made of vitamins and minerals, and it's really hard to get, as I said. And you can play with the designs, so there's different designs. It's for the rich class, and it's the most delicious bread.
So wheat bread is probably the most basic bread there is. It's flour, salt, water, and oil. So this represents our lowest class. These people are very warm and welcoming. Like imagine walking into a home and smelling that new, freshly baked bread. They aren't really concerned about appearance as much as the rich class, and they have a lot more of a relaxed personality.
Okay, yes, I wanted to explain a little bit of the nouns that we have here. The first one is family. It looks like this. The next one is person, which is 2 hands on the chest. The next one is chef, which goes like this. Then sous chef, which is kind of the same sign, but it's with 1 hand because it's less formal. Then you have baker. The next one that you have is server. And then we also have eat. And we have kitchen, which is like cleaning the area. And then bread goes like this. And then for lastly, to ask what your job is, it is this.
So I will talk about the verbs. Our first verb is cook. So 2 fists, like you're opening an oven. Next is mix, mixing in bowl. Our next one is to serve, like you're holding a table to take out to serve the food. Next for eat, pretend like you're eating a sandwich with 2 hands. For read, we pick up a big recipe or like a menu card to glance at that. And then for ready, we show the yeast rising in the bread. Now for pronouns, for I, we point to our chin because it's close to our mouth for taste. And then for you, point to the chin and then out. For them, point to the chin and then flat hand out.
I'll be talking about adjectives, and the first one is good. So just as if you were praying, and then bad is like this, your hands apart. And then the last one is careful, and you're gonna go like this, just like putting the towel up. And then that and this, just pointing, just like this. Palm up is yes, and then palm down is no.
I wanted to talk about how we say hello and goodbye. So hello, the actual sign is this. For formal, for informal, you can either go like this or like this. For goodbye, the sign is like this. An informal way to sign that, or a lazy way, would be like this. And then for our suffix, that is for a person, that would be this, to show like baker. And then we also have the prefix, which would be this, for like preheating the oven.
For politeness, we have two greetings, hello and goodbye. So for hello, imagine putting on an apron. For the informal, just use one hand. For goodbye, take off your apron. Same thing for informal, you just use the one hand. For good morning, tip your chef hat. And for good night, take off your chef hat and place it on the counter. Our taboo sign is burnt. So to make the sign, you have both hands flat and slide your dominant hand across the top. For the euphemism, you just slap your hand. So this can be used to insult someone, also just as a curse word if you make a mistake yourself.
Okay, now we're going to be discussing the proxemics of this culture. You know, we've talked about how there's different statuses. There's not really huge differences when it comes to proxemics in the community, no matter their status. Everybody socializes with one another, they communicate, they interact with one another. They don't judge each other based on their bread baking abilities. It's a lot of equality as far as that goes, but the greetings can be different depending on your status. For example, the high class people, when you meet other people who are also in that high class for the first time, they have two different things they do when they meet. One is just a small bow, and the other is a handshake. It's a little bit more stern, not a lot of facial expression, showing a more serious side. Eventually, as you become more comfortable with someone, it becomes less formal. Okay, continuing on about the proxemics, one thing that I want to emphasize is if the two people in the higher class society see each other, you might have a little bit more close standing with each other because you're in the same class, same status, you have the same skill level, so you might feel more comfortable with that person, and therefore those people who are in the same class will most likely stand closer together. The second different situation is if someone in the higher class meets someone in the middle class, and they have different statuses, the distance is going to be slightly bigger, not dramatic, but slightly bigger to show respect of the higher class person's skill and expertise in the kitchen. The middle class person is a little bit more informal, and they will have more distance between. And then the third situation is if someone in the lower class and who's more poor, it's really going to be up to them. They kind of decide the distance that they're comfortable with the people that they're interacting with, as long as they don't fight and there's no violence about the bread.
Okay, I wanted to talk about body location as well as hand shapes. With hand shapes, there are several. I'm just going to list a few. So one of them would be an A hand shape on the chest. Another one would be an H hand shape on the left side of your chest. And then some body locations would be on the chest, over the head, out in front of your person, or on the side of your person. I also wanted to talk about body movement and body orientation. With body movement, the hands tend to go away from the body, towards the body, outside from the body. And then orientation is normally towards the person unless they're bowing towards each other.
There are different greeting gestures used depending on genders. So if two men meet, they give each other a quick nod. If it's a man and a woman, it's a longer nod. If two women meet, then they smile as they nod. For expressing that something really tastes good or that you're impressed with something, we call it a chef's kiss. But if you don't like something or someone, then
the sentence structure is 3 different parts. So it's the visual things, the noun, the verb, and here are a few examples. So for our 2 borrowed words from other groups, we use friends and it's a smiley face, just like this, and the heart. And known is just like this.